So, Sonic Racing Crossworlds has just had its open network test. And for the first time, the general player base has been able to get their hands on the game and share their thoughts all about it, me included. So in today's video, I want to do just that and share my thoughts on Sonic Racing Crossworlds. They're generally fairly positive, but there are a few changes that I would like to see before the game officially releases. So without further ado, let's just jump into it. In general, Sonic Racing Crossworlds is a very fun game that has lots of replayability, with awesome tracks, characters and mechanics that feel fresh every time you play. I especially love the gadgets mechanic. Actually being able to make a build that is personalized for you is awesome, and a great way to shake up the gameplay whenever you get bored. There's the option to play it safe and pick a defensive build, or go high risk, high reward and pick something that caters to movement and speed. There may end up being an ideal build or meta, but all the different options are there to have fun with, so I don't think this will be as big of an issue as, for example, the meta in the Mario Kart games. I think players will mostly play what's fun for them when playing online, unless playing competitively. The one available Grand Prix Cup is super fun, and I liked all of the tracks in it, apart from E-Stadium, as it feels a little too generic and very similar to Mario Stadium from Mario Kart 8, even down to the big opening turns. Rainbow Garden and Water Palace, however, are a blast through and through, and the Crossworld tracks that appear in the stages are pretty awesome too. The red rings are also a nice touch for first-time plays of the track and give incentive to replay the cup to collect them all. Time trials are pretty neat too, and I like how you can pick up speed wisps throughout the level rather than the standard of just starting with 3 speed items. It adds some strategy to tracks as you often have to go out of your way to grab them, but not picking them up can be detrimental to your time. I do wish there was more single player content in this demo just to get a feel of how much there is for offline players, but from the looks of things, there'll be plenty to do in the full release, and I understand why that content wasn't available in this free demo, because who would buy the game if you played it all? The menu design is nice, but it can feel a little cluttered, intimidating, or tricky to navigate and find things. It took me ages to find the profile editing menu to change my title, and while it's not awful, it does feel somewhat mobile gamey, with the event pass being plastered around in the news menu, it not being super clear where you can change your settings for your profile, not being able to alter your audio settings when in an online lobby, which I feel like should be a fairly important thing that you could do at any point in the game. This could all be very easily polished up in the full release, and I really hope that Sega do so. The roster is also super diverse, and thank God we have the Babylon Rogues back in a Sonic racing game. But I can't help but feel we're missing a few Sonic staples. Where is Tangle, Whisper, Styx, Tikal, etc.? Why do we have the likes of Zaz and Zavok and even Eggpawn instead of those characters that people actually would like to see in the game? It feels like they almost went all out and then tripped at the last hurdle, and it's just kind of unfortunate to see. At the end of the day, this game does have a lot of crossovers, but at its core, it's Sonic Racing. Why didn't we go fully all out on the Sonic cast? We were almost there, but all we can hope is, I guess, they get added as DLC, but even then, it doesn't excuse the fact that they weren't in the game from the start, and I'm by no means saying that the roster is bad, I just think it could have been better, and there's a few picks in there that make me think, why did you do that? Speaking of the roster, I do like the inclusion of guest characters. Now in this demo, we only got to play as Joker, which unlocked on the 31st of August for all players to play as. And as a massive fan of the Persona series, this is a very welcome addition for me. This is Editor Ari here, just to say I missed out on a point. I do miss the fact that we don't have more representation from other Sega franchises like we saw in All-Stars Racing and All-Stars Transformed. I'd love to see characters like Beat and BD Joe and I don't know, Alex Kidd in this game. It would have just been nice to have that as well, but I totally get that this isn't a Sonic and Sega All-Stars Racing game. I just come to expect that, I guess, from good Sonic racing games, not Team Sonic Racing. Anyway, back to the video. Now moving on to the online play, it's great fun and hella chaotic. However, it can feel insanely RNG at times, and only the last lap in a lot of races really matters. There's also no way to stay in a lobby with people you've just met, or even friend them to invite them, so you have to re-queue every single time, which is annoying and slow, and in my opinion just not a great system. Festival mode is especially a blast, and I'm glad to see them finally do something good with the team mechanics of TSR. However, I do feel feel it's still a little unfair when it's so reliant on random teammates. The fact that you can't continue to stick with a team or friend people just makes it really hard to consistently win races unless you just have 4 people to play with. My time was a little easier as I had my partner to play with, but even then, just the 2 of us with 2 random people, we couldn't very consistently get a win streak, which when some of the rewards in the game are based on getting a win streak, I just feel like it's a pretty bad system, and I hope they add a way to add people in the final release. Now onto the big controversy of Crossworld. I do agree with a lot of people that the items need to be slightly rebalanced. However, they aren't as overpowered as they seem. Being hit by items seems super unfair if you're like me and you're playing a speed or movement centric build. I played through most of this game with a boost related build, so every time I got hit by items it would send me right to the back of the pack and it'd be quite difficult to recover. However, this kind of build is high risk, high reward. If you build your gear and gadgets defensively or on acceleration and recovery, you can totally play it safe, but you won't reap the rewards of extra boost or better movement. That being said, some things like the monster truck can feel a little bit busted regardless when it comes to the damage they do to you. I think some slight rebalancing would definitely go a long way here. However, the issue isn't as bad as many have made it out to be, and it's something that I think Sega should look at, but definitely not something that needs to be changed too much, as changing it too much would make those high risk, high reward builds just high reward, no risk. Now for the final thing that I want to touch on, I'm going to do a brief, short section on the music because it's been yapped about online already enough, and I really don't have much to add to the argument. The music in general is a mixed bag. The menu theme, Metal Harbor, and Dragon Road are some great highlights, but tracks like Apotos just kind of miss the mark. Overall, I don't think it's bad that this game has an EDM score. I think it really fits the racing game aesthetic super well. However, some songs are definitely better and way more well produced than others. I mean, Apoto starts off great and then just becomes terrible. So yeah, I think they should maybe rethink the soundtrack a little, but I think it's too late in development for any of this to be changed. Overall, I don't think it's the biggest issue ever. So those are my initial thoughts on Sonic Racing Crossworlds. Did you play the network test? What did you think of the game? Let me know down below. And if you enjoyed this video, be sure to subscribe and go and check out some of my other Sonic content. I post a ton of it on this channel as of recently, and I do post other stuff too, so go take a look at my channel, and if anything interests you, subscriptions are greatly appreciated. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye bye!